IVM.
Cyrus, we got a new sponsor on board, The Whole Truth. Have you tried them out yet? I think they sent you something.
I haven't slept. I was so excited. Just been eating these bars because these bars come in minis, which I think is a huge, huge step forward for people who like bars. The old bars, you have a bit and then you get bored and you can't eat it sometimes. This is the right size. The minis, I'm a huge fan of. It also controls the calorie intake. It makes it less so.
It's really good, man. I really like them too. I mean, I've ordered them a bunch of times in the month while we were having the discussions. But hey, if you guys would like to try them out, then please go to thewholetruthfoods.com. You can use the code Cyrus. You get a 20% discount on the cost of it.
Yeah, you know why, Cyrus? Because a lot of it is made from nuts and, well, I'm a little nuts. कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Yup, as we say, greetings in Mumbai. She was called Cyrus Says. It's deplorable by nature, but today I hope Adam, when he walks in, will enhance our product, so to speak. But before I let Adam rant and rave, I have to quickly rant and rave myself on a thing called Duolingo, which is like a TOEFL exam thing, which is out there now because everything is online. So my son and others who have to apply to colleges in Canada and England, etc., have to go through this English as a foreign language concept. And this Duolingo is ridiculous. Apparently, you have to stare at the camera for 1 hour, 25 minutes without blinking. If you blink, they shoot you. It's that bad. If you look down, you're cheating. If you look at your watch, you're cheating. If there's a sound in the background, you're cheating. And if an attendant, or because we in Mumbai live 40 to a room, somebody walks in the background, which is difficult to control, let me tell you honestly, you're out. You're disqualified. So he's done it, I think, 2 or 3 times. There's 10 grand of mine eaten up. Duolingo, wherever you are, we're coming for you. We may not have the Sicilian mafia, but we have the Malwa Hill mafia. Of course, we are non-violent and we basically spit and scream and make faces. But, we'll get you in time.
जिंदगी डायरीज के पन्नों में कुछ पुरानी यादें, समुंदर किनारे झूमते दरख्त, जवान दिल की धड़कनें और अनजान मुलाकातें हैं। तो आइए खोलिए मेरे साथ जिंदगी डायरी के पन्ने और साथ ही खुलकर जीते हैं जिंदगी। आप सुन सकते हैं जिंदगी डायरीज IVM पॉडकास्ट ऐप या वेबसाइट पर, या जहां कहीं से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो।
I just want to bring that out there, and because there's lots of people who've suffered at Duolingo. We'll talk about it in detail once I bring in the one and only Adam Dow to the show. We've spoken to him before, but he's run away to, is it Seattle? Adam, where are you right now?
That's right. I'm in the angsty, grungy land of the Northwest over here in Seattle, Washington, home of, Seahawks
Washington
football. No. Seahawks American, that weird rugby game that we play.
Yeah. With protection. Yeah. What kind of macho men need protection? Yeah, beyond an Abdigar, which makes sense.
It just allows you to run into each other much harder.
I think they look like failed motorcyclists for me, The big guys with these big helmets, but there's no motorcycle. But even the motorcycle between their legs.
They become the motorcycle now.
Now that you bring it up, I try to follow it. I spent 4 months there in an acting studio, which taught me nothing. Oh, actually, it did. And I try to follow it because you try to get into the culture and all that. It's like 2 yards and 4 yards. And I'm like, what's with that? I mean, how can that be sport? It's just so little.
Well, when they do the big throws and it goes way down the field, that's when it's exciting. And I've had many Indian friends I've tried to explain it to. And I feel it's just the same as me trying to understand cricket. What's a wobbly and there's so much language that you just don't understand right off the get.
A lot of it is made up by the Indian guys anyway. Don't worry. It's not really there. We just have our own spin to everything. But listen, let me quickly introduce you. Of course, we've spoken to you. Settled in India for a long time.
9 years.
A lot of big names have come through you, apparently. Kanish Surka, who owes me money. Tanmay Bhatt, whose weight loss and weight gain is a separate continent. And you worked with people like, I don't know if we discussed this last time, Russell Peters, Ryan Stiles, and Colin. Is that Mokri or Mochri?
Yeah, Mokri. He's the guy from Who's on It Anyways. Right? The bald guy and the tall guy. Both of them. Yeah.
No, Ryan Stiles, because he's in 2.5 Men and everything else.
Yes.
Ryan Stiles is like quite the happening actor. So you work with all these big guns. We'll just quickly talk about your background again, just for those who are tuning in, because this is a live show in India.
Right.
Washington, I have no idea what the time is. Unless you're an insurgent, right now, you should be running around.
It's very late, 8:30 p.m., so it's like way past my bedtime. So,
wow, Is there curfew? For,
Well, there's not right now. The riots have stopped, so we can go out, but you can't go into a restaurant right now and eat inside. And there's a lot of stuff is still closed down, but the vaccine's coming out.
but do you have the odd joker shouting Trump for president still, or that's died down?
Oh yeah, we had that. Our little capital in our state. They all came over and knocked some stuff down and threw
Like
some
your
stuff
India
and,
moment.
You're impressing me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it was very secular feel for me, not to sound racist or reverse racist or whatever, but it's good
Right.
to see first world countries behaving like us. And then you see
Oh,
there
yeah.
is a certain secularism in the boorish nature of unemployed men generally, and a few women,
Yes.
which across the world, you just change skin color or religion, height, weight. It's exactly the same. A bunch of,
Yeah.
guys you don't ever hang out with and who probably
Right.
don't have great futures. Their parents don't go to cocktail parties and say, "Oh, young Peter, excellent, insurgent, doing well." Should last
Yeah.
for 20 years. Yeah.
For a lot of people, Trump has become this superhuman person that has like magic powers and can do all these kind of things and is speaking to them in code. That's the thing. So when he does a misspelling, he's meant to do that. That was part of the code that he's against the evil left wing. So it's
Yeah,
crazy times right now.
But he still has a lot of support, and I think we
Yeah,
discussed
scary,
this with you
scary
before
much.
as well. Not just that, but the sort of
Back right when he got elected, we talked. I
Mhm.
think. Yeah.
exactly, and you can say left liberal, this and that, and obviously not interested in a person like Donald Trump. But more worrisome for us, and we discussed this with Atish Tasir, a well-known writer, is the fact that he started a sort of right-wing movement across the world. Because this, it was Bolsonaro, or whether it's I can't remember the name of the Czech guy in charge,
The
Turkey,
Philippines, yeah,
the Philippines.
yeah.
And that catalyst like sort of thing happened, where he was obviously the poster boy. So maybe that will change. No idea.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the time of the dictatorship, I guess. There's a lot of people that look towards that.
Really. So the wife at home, and then you leave, and it's even worse. Can you imagine? Yeah, but this is like a Joe Rogan podcast. You got everything sorted out there, I must say. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I actually bought this in lockdown. I was like, I need to start improving my area around here because I'm pretty much working from home most of the time. So all the little improvements have gone in there, and that's we were talking about earlier. I think that's a lot of home improvement has gone up because everybody's stuck at home, and now it's your place where you raise your kids. So it's your school, it's where you work, it's your gym, it's where you go for vacation now. So it's pretty much all in one. So a lot of people are making money off the home improvement.
This sounds like a desi Indian concept again, not to keep harping about it, but I just feel we would do that, in a sense of cheapness, just go for, why don't we do everything at home? Just mention 7 things, save money, cost the company, and huge idea. Adam, tell us what happened during lockdown. Where were you in India? Did you move back?
I was in India. Yeah, I actually was. I was, I had just come, I think it was in February, I had come back in 2019. So there was remnants of the virus was starting to come up. In fact, I had performed in an improv show just before I left Seattle, and I think our team name was Corona with the side of Lyme disease. So coronavirus with the side of Lyme disease. That was the name.
That's the one you get from ticks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and you also have Corona with the Lyme, so it's a double.
Oh, nice beer and
there you go. Yeah,
off the alcohol. Yeah.
So then I had come and I was in Bombay and I was starting I teach these improv comedy classes that kind of got really popular, which was what I've been doing quite a bit. And I was teaching at that school, Whistling Woods, the film school there.
Yes.
So
did you have to audition for the job?
No.
Subhash Guy is famous for his auditions.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess in some ways I did. I put on a bunch of shows there in the past, and I heard you got banned from there, I think, for exposing yourself. I'm not sure.
Just following the faculty.
Something of some story. But so, yeah, I had been working there, and then I just got to know the people that ran the place, and they said, they were interested in hiring me and helping with my visa. So I said, why not? And so I was coming for a 3-month course that I was teaching, and then all of a sudden the virus just started picking up, and everybody's like, oh, we'll just postpone for 1 day, and then next week we'll do it next week, and then it's like next week, and then once you saw what happened in Italy, I was like, oh boy, this is not going to go away anytime soon. And in fact, I was sharing a flat with Anna at the time. I just moved in, and
Anna. You come and ask me, girl, to set you free, girl. That one. All right, okay. Excellent.
And so we were there, and then everybody's like,
what is the nature of the relationship? Sorry to interrupt, Adam.
It was a fully flatmate transactional. No, we were friends. friends.
Yeah.
Friendship only. But so it just didn't look like it was going to get better, and I realized I probably should get home because I have some elderly parents that need help. So like that.
Is it ironic to say, or I don't know what the right word is? So you're actually improving when you get all of us, the whole world. We got this epidemic, and there was no plan. There's a sort of plan from the government, which honestly it looks like they're just saying something to keep you, motivated not to kill yourself. But this was actually life and art coming together for someone like you because you're improving every day.
Oh man, yeah. Right at the end too, because it was like when this lockdown was happening, as the question, I was like, oh, I'll just wait it out a couple more weeks, or do I go? And I just. A couple of my friends were like, you should go and it's going to change really rapidly. And I changed. And the day I flew out, they let me change my ticket for free. Day I flew out, that's when the lockdown, right after the same day. So I got out on the flight and then they shut down all the flights immediately afterwards. So knock on wood.
And Seattle was not locked down.
Seattle was also locked down. Yeah. We were also both in lockdown, but they were allowing you to come back to your home country. But during that time, everybody's like, you want to go to your home country, you go now. And then at a certain point, they're like, nobody moves after this.
So did you guys have the same queues and lines that we would have in the beginning in March, April, where you'd have to sit for provisions and, sort of wait in line and keep distance, or it was a little more flexible?
It was more flexible because, like with Mumbai and a lot of the Indian places, there's like the shops and stores are always kind of small. So you have like, you go up and you have to queue up. Yeah. And you have to queue up. Here we have these. We're in the West Coast especially, so everything's very big, and cars are big. The restaurants.
Note to government, increase the size of our shops.
Or the people are giant, So we did have room to get in there, but everyone had to wear masks. And at first they said that you didn't have to wear masks, and then like everybody in India immediately just put a mask on. It wasn't even a question. People in
lack of self-esteem,
they're still not putting masks on.
Lack of self-esteem. We don't like the way we look in the mirror sometimes. So those ones are quick. Oh wow, I got an excuse. Boom, I'm in. Are you a mask person, or are you one of the cowboys who said enough?
No, I'm a mask person for sure. I try to wear it as much as I can, but there are definitely people out there and they walk around with such pride that they're not wearing the mask and kind of look at every single person to see what the reaction is about the mask. And there's been a big shame that Trump kind of politicized the whole thing anyways. But I think in Asian culture, it's definitely a lot easier to put the mask on. It's more normal. It's more
I think in the middle class society of the Asian countries, people are ready to listen to the government for anything. We actually pay our taxes for some reason. So we've got quite a sycophantic lot. But I think as you go lower down the economic strata, I think maybe it was more of a challenge. And it still is. It's a huge country, as you noticed. Too many people, too little land. We're the size of Seattle and 1.3 billion. And nobody's actually counting because you can't count after a billion. It's just, your fingers pain, how much you're going to count. But, we're joking about all this, but wouldn't it have been tough when suddenly you got this packed calendar, your footprint is in 2 continents, so to speak. You've got so many people that you influence and so much work. I mean, you're creating different work environments for people in a sense. So you're almost both an entrepreneur and a performer. But then suddenly everything is cancelled. So what did you do? What was, how did you deal with that? And what was the innovative way out of that?
Well, what comes first? Family. So that's what took the priority. I knew my family, they have a small business. I knew that they needed help with running. So I knew I just had to get back, focus on the family, make sure they're taken care of, get us everybody in the straight place. And then, man, it's just waiting it out, at that point, trying to get down through this.
What's your take on the online performances? And it's a challenge, isn't it, for live?
Yeah, live. I've done a few. Sometimes it kind of feels like real theater, but a lot of times it just is.
Don't get
very
the feedback. The feedback is a problem, isn't it? Especially with stand-up.
Not hearing the laughter. Yeah, and being able
to. There's no timing.
No, know when it's working. Know when it's not working is hard. I guess you can make each other laugh, but that's sometimes we laugh at our own jokes too hard, I think so. There's
a room energy and all which you just can't. I tried it. It was really, I thought it was just rushing. Anyway, I speak too fast, and then I'm rushing at double that speed because there's just no refs in the middle. This is it. And how do you know people are paying attention? Like if I'm sitting and watching, how we are 2 minutes of this and then you move to the next thing. So it's a huge challenge. So did you do anything in our line?
Yeah, I did a couple of shows through my theater here, Unexpected Productions. They put on a few shows, so I did some of them. But honestly, life has gotten so hard. Well, there's a lot of stuff that has happened in my life that just took priority over a performance for a little bit. So I had to take a break. Have been working on some writing. We did a kung fu comedy film a while back, and we're going to try to do another one. Probably not this year, but next comedy. Yeah.
Wow.
It was called Master Vengeancer.
Yeah.
So it was. We made it like 3 years ago, and it was pretty popular. It showed down at the L.A. Asian Film Festival, and had a whole little tour of the West Coast. So yeah, it was pretty fun. I want to do another one. I had a great time doing it. So that's what we've been working on, writing on that and seeing it. But I think probably it's going to be shot next year.
But right now, as we speak, as we record this, you can do a live show with people or not? With limited people?
No, but you can in Bombay. I've seen photos, right? People.
No, those are politicians who are holding rallies. That's different. But they are funny.
Oh, Trump can do that. That Trump does. But as of now, no theaters open. Yeah.
Yeah, he went into the COVID thing, got the damn thing, came out, continued with his merry ways. He's quite the Robin Hood figure in his own way. Wow.
Complains about health care, but then uses it to the max,
But is there a sense in America of, relief, or is the life has just gone back to the next
It's
problem?
like we're going through the eye of the needle right now. It's really interesting because death tolls are going up at a very high rate.
Yeah.
But the vaccine is also coming out. So hopefully this next month, my folks are up to get the vaccine. So it's just a matter of trying to get the two to come together.
I can't wrap my head around the Joe Biden's junior suffix because he's close to 80 years old and whatever. But this Mr. Junior says 1 million a day for the next 100 days. Is that a possible figure?
I don't think that's a possible figure, but it, like anything, when it starts off, it just goes all wrong. And then slowly gets better. Even when we started with the tests, right? Everybody's supposed to get a test. You couldn't get a test here. I'm sure also in India, I knew people are begging to get the test. They're like, I think I have it. And they're just like, unless you're about to die, don't even come to the hospital, So
we had the bed scandal in the big cities where the rich could pay a little more in black or under the table and get yourself a nice bed, and the dying poor person has to stand and die, which I think is fair. Because, that's the way life is. The rich get to lie down. So that's what business class and first class is all about, if you look back and see the concept. Before we call in the other guys, are you going to come back to India now? The moment they let us, I don't know if they
open
ever will.
up again? Yeah, I'll definitely be coming back. I mean, I've spent so much time over there and had a lot of great experiences and had a great network of people I've met. So I definitely want to come back. This year is going to be a little dicey, I think, though. But next year, I'm hoping for the even better. It's like 2020 was the year of being sick. 21 is the year of recovery. 22 will hopefully be like gangbusters. Everybody will be freaking out and having a great time.
And falling sick again? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Ouch. Yeah.
No. Knock on wood.
All the cynics that I speak to say there are many more viruses out there. That's the good news. This is the tip of the iceberg. We have no idea how many viruses are out there. Now, suddenly
we'll just be walking around with full body condoms.
I think so. You look like a beekeeper, when you go on a date. It'd be great because the girl doesn't see your face, so you get away with maybe 3 dates, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, alcohol through a straw is a great concept. I've been doing it for many years. All right.
You've seen the cigarette also, the cigarette through the hole in the mask.
But cigarettes are a dying breed. I almost, now that you bring it up, I almost feel bad for them because growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a cool thing in India, the guy with the cigarette, he was the cool guy in college, the first guy to bring out a pack, offer it to people, carry a light. It just seemed like, in all the movies, both Indian and Hollywood as well, they always, from Humphrey Bogart onwards, the cigarette was a real symbol. And then suddenly they're like the pariahs. Everybody's like, oh, you smoke, please, can you go out?
It's bad. Yeah. Go outside. Yeah, it's definitely changed. I think even in the comedy scene, too. I was reading the history of Saturday Night Live and how back in the day with John Belushi and all them, drug use was on the all-time high. Everybody was doing cocaine. Everybody was doing all kinds of, and they died of drug overdoses. Now you go, supposedly all these comedians are very straight edge. They think it's really bad to take any drugs, drink even. So it's next generation is a whole different view on them.
Bill Burr really disappointed me. I think he lost 20 pounds. This is ridiculous. Who does that at the height of your career? You should be debauched, having affairs, caught with a midget in a lounge in public or something like that. Nothing. It's just perfect. Yeah.
Not everybody can live that Elvis lifestyle, I guess,
I miss those stars. Adam, where are those stars? Maybe improbable. So quickly, before they come in, because then we can't talk about all this, right. Who's the best improv guy you've ever seen? Since you both teach and perform. Is Ryan Stiles and gang, are they like...
I would say Ryan's is my personal favorite because I met him when I was like just starting off and he came into our class and then he was just always such a supportive guy and he was always so fun. He was on TV and it was just very funny. And then when we brought our group over from India, he put all of us up for a night and like shared the proceeds. He performed with us. And
maybe he didn't realize how many were coming.
That's the thing. They think you're coming with 2, but
Yeah,
it actually
exactly.
turns out 5 or 6.
Yeah. No, but so improv as it is, do you think we can make a living as in, because people ask us this all the time, because improv is
Mhm.
separate from, say, stand up and everything else.
Mm.
So do you think in India improv can justify itself alone? Can you manage
I don't.
improv artists?
No, I don't. I don't think it's. I think it's. I look at all the most famous improv comedians that are out there. Other than the people that are literally on the show, whose line is it, anyways? Nobody really makes, unless you're teaching improv, right? Or maybe
So you can't
using
perform
it.
improv like a stand-up guy gets 3 gigs a week. You can't do that.
Yeah, but think about it. When you're doing it, you usually have. I mean, you can maybe if you do it with one other guy, but you realize your salary you get for
Okay.
the show is your salary. Now imagine it splitting up with 5 different people or 3 people, or the money becomes less and less,
Okay.
and that face is also there.
It's
So
orchestra versus solo singer. Fair enough.
yeah,
One last thing I want to ask, and please be honest, I'm going to do my Arnab here. I want to know the truth. Whose line is it anyway? Is it completely spontaneous, or do they,
I don't think they write out any of the dialogues at all. I think they probably, have, it's very well produced, so they definitely know what's going to come next, and they play the games so often that they already know, like, it's outlined in their head. You know what I mean? They've got it. The outline is already there, so they then just kind of spontaneously come up with the joke on that moment. But the structurally is all done. You know
but the
what I mean?
specific is not given to them? They just have a vague
Specific
idea.
on the day of. No. They don't like give them this idea in advance and they write down ideas. I don't think they do any of that. I think they just have it's very well structured, and you perform that same structure every time. Same thing like this show. Once you've done it so many times, it just becomes, ingrained in your head, so that you don't need to think up jokes. It's actually more
You
fun.
Americans don't know how to cheat properly. Just look at your record. Credit card scandals, Indians. ATM scandals, Indians. Mutual fund scandals, Indians. Where the investment bank scandals were there. Sri Lankans, a couple of Sri Lankans with us as well. But it's all us. We've taught you. I hope we've taught you well. Okay, Adam, great. That's part 1. Now we take a quick break and we bring in 2 erudite professionals to discuss all things interesting. That's what I say, because that's all we have. We'll take a break.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with Postcards from Nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure, and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IBM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
And we're back with Amit.
Hey,
Same color T-shirt as me. And,
yes, matching.
Silvery, who's Silvery, have you studied under Adam?
No, I haven't, but I've been planning to do improv at some point. So
would you like to discuss discounts and things like that? This is the right place for you to.
yeah, exactly.
You can get your whole
What
family.
can I expect?
Perfect.
There's a
What can I
family
expect,
bumper bonanza that you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So for 50% discount with first class free, does that work? Okay, fine. Thank you.
There'll be a lot of social distancing in his first classes. You probably will be separate rooms. It'll be really tough.
Get the little note next to your name. That one.
Also, Kanis has done improv has been her main thing, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
And she was one of my first improv students when I came to India.
And she also started teaching. I remember she used to run back and do a class or something once a month.
Yep. She taught with me for a while, and then she's teaching on her own. Yeah. She's been with you on the TV show forever, hasn't she?
She has, but we have no budgets last 2 years, so she does it for free, honestly, as and when. And I'm waiting for Amit to find us a nice sponsor. But now during COVID, they say you should be lucky you're still on TV. It's like that. Yeah.
Cyrus, do you remember I was on one of your shows of Bakra? Do you remember me?
Yeah.
I had to play some cricketer or something.
Correct. We gave you a West
cricketer.
Indian name, and the guy came and took a picture of you.
Yeah.
There's a knowledge of Indian guys who claim to be great cricket lovers. So we had him like a Afro-Carib guy, clearly, but he's Caucasian, and just obvious. And yet they'll come, take picture. And of course the other things. I think I remember calling Andrew Flintoff because the English team was in and all that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But the key to that, we didn't pay you. So you got talent for free. Lines were good.
That is
That one, I think I might have gotten a paycheck on that one.
Really? Are you kidding?
Oh, I got something. Yeah. for
Oh,
that
we
one.
did pay. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Must have most of
Way
my
back.
conveyance. One of the biggest running scandals of MTV is I was entitled conveyance and never gave it to me.
Ooh, bringing up some bad blood. Okay.
No, really.
Next up.
What about improv? The production guy improving on the spot. Yeah. Okay, Silvery, floor
All
is
right.
yours.
All right, let's get to the topics. We have some very funny and interesting topics today. The first one comes in from Las Vegas. A Las Vegas multi-millionaire has announced $1 million in prizes for answering the question of whether there is an afterlife. So basically, he runs an institute called his name is Robert Bigelow. He runs an institute called the Robert Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies. And they have announced that researchers and scientists who have been researching this field for the last 5 years or more can write essays or 25,000-word thesis they want for the answer of whether there's an afterlife or not.
But can you die and then do it? Because that would
how else do you do research?
that would make the most sense. That makes no sense at all. So
I
how
heard
do you
the guy
do?
from
so-
Vegas.
The assumption is that Robert Bigelow's wife just recently passed away a few months back. So that is kind of what prompted him to go
Okay,
about
this guy's a nutcase. You get a chance to get out of jail here, and you want to go back to the dead wife? What the hell is wrong with this Bigelow monkey? You should be thrown out of the States and sent to Canada where he belongs. This is no way to behave. Am I right, Adam? What the hell
think
does that make?
This guy is from Nevada. Everybody from Nevada is crazy, man. And says you can go into a bar with a handgun on your hip there and have a drink. It's totally fine. So I mean, and especially that's right out where Area 51 was. And I think this guy was a big area UFO enthusiast.
Correct,
So if
correct. He's a
you're-
huge UFO enthusiast as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually wants to pay the $1 million. It's not like one of
He
those
wants the
challenges
answer
which
to be. He wants
No,
the
they
answer
have. You
clearly.
have 3 runners up. They're cutting it up. So top afterlife idea gets most money. Second idea for afterlife, a little more less. And then
Oh,
third,
okay.
run-
So,
yeah.
I kind of didn't read the story because I just assumed it was like one of those challenges which nobody's ever going to solve. And so, like, it's just like, hey, I'm going to give $100 million to whoever can prove the afterlife. I can do that. I can make that declaration right now. Prove the afterlife. I'll give you $100 million.
Yeah, straight out of Vegas. What happens?
Shouldn't
in the
Ricky
afterlife?
Gervais get it?
The afterlife.
Ricky Gervais should get it
Why?
for the afterlife. You haven't seen the show?
For the movie.
No, I've not seen the show.
Too much NBA, brother.
Yes,
Ricky
I know.
Gervais, world number 4 in comedy. I love those sites that they give them numbers. World number 1, world number 2. Yeah. And Dave Chappelle is always world number 1. For some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
But he's funny.
No, they're all
He's a
funny.
guy.
Yeah, but Dave Chappelle's he's also prolific. Actually, doesn't he? He does more than most people do. I think. Like, I've seen. I think he's done 4 specials in the last 2 years.
In 2018, he did 4 specials in 1 year, which is almost unheard of.
Okay.
And then last year, I think he released 1 stand-up special and with 2 other smaller bits, which weren't really considered typical comedy, but they were like just commenting on social issues and what have you.
And what amazed me is he's become so big that, when he walked away from his TV show and it was a huge scandal. So now, Comedy Central is trying to go around and put it up on Netflix and put it up. He
Yeah,
just calls
that's
Netflix up and says, hey, you're hurting my feelings by showing this. And they say,
Yeah.
no worries, sir. Please, no problem. We'll take it down. It's gone. Don't
So
worry.
he's in the wrong over there. Huh? By the way, I'm 100% believe that Dave Chappelle's in the wrong over there.
Because the proprietor owns
Because
the
They
the
paid him
contract.
$50 million fucking dollars, man.
I agree with you.
I thought he got screwed up. Well, he walked away from the contract, so it was his fault.
Well, but I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like
But did he go to a
there was a
Hobbit-like
time.
phase where he disappeared?
This was immediately following
Yeah.
that. No, following this. So I feel like there was a situation. There was a long time where media companies were exploiting artists, and that used to happen a lot. I think we're now swung on the absolute opposite side of the spectrum, right? Where the things are now kind of to the point where the media comes, please do whatever you want to us, no problem, right? I mean, like it really has become that, right? Okay, NBA example: James Harden, Houston Rockets going to the Brooklyn Nets. Right? There's no way in hell.
Can you talk a little softly because I have to Google everything? You
Okay.
can't just scream at me like that. I mean,
Sorry. So James Harden, Brooklyn Nets player now, who was at the Houston Rockets. He was with the Houston Rockets for the longest time. He was the highest paid player in the NBA. All of a sudden, this offseason, he decided, you know what? I want to go and play with Brooklyn with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And so because of that, was basically publicly posting himself out at strip clubs with big rappers and stuff like that when he was actually supposed to be in training camp, played like shit while he was with Houston. And then Houston traded him finally.
So just to create negative publicity, so he goes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's such a thing as too much as well. There has to be a balance on if you sign a contract, right? I mean, like you signed a contract. Nobody's forced you to sign a contract. There's no gun to your head to sign the contract. You signed a contract. Same thing with this Dave Chappelle Netflix. He signed a contract.
No,
So
India, we don't have a chance growing in the last 2 decades.
Uh-huh.
Like he mentioned MTV Bakra. So it's done by us. There's a couple of producers, Vasant, myself, Ajit, later on Trevlin, Sajid. That's it. There are 4 or 5 of us. None of us have any equity. That's it.
But so
You can't take the name.
I know, so I agree with that there should be a certain amount of this, right? I mean, like this is how we kind of have put together things in our company's case, right? Where we want creators to own part of what we're doing to a great extent, right? So we've worked on kind of
It's a
creating
legal responsibility. If it hits the fan, you want to share it here. Come on.
Yeah, no, you want you want to do that, right? So I mean, like you do want to do that, but I mean, like this Dave Chappelle thing, right? I'm just reading that, and I'm like, let's say Cyrus, we get into a huge fight like a year from now, right? I mean, like huge fight. We don't want to talk to each other ever again, whatever, this, that, right? Whatever, well, we get into this use. But the shows that we've created, we're going to continue pushing them out there, even if this fight occurs, right? I mean, like, because again, if we put the shows out, then we both make money on the shows. Otherwise, we don't make money on the shows. Right. So, I mean, like, we won't create new shows, but the shows that have been created, they've been created with this idea that these costs are amortized. You don't do it for like what you're getting right then and there. You pay more money with the idea that you're going to make more money over a certain amount of time, right? That's how you build these things. I just found it ridiculous that
No, but
Netflix,
I don't think he has that.
He didn't have the intellectual property. It's intellectual property. So whoever has the IP.
he was the producer of the show. He has royalties coming to him.
He didn't.
No, that's what I don't think he has royalties coming because he walked away from the contract. Is the
Yeah,
reason
he
he did
broke
not
the
have
contract.
royalties coming to him.
So he lost the IP completely, and it was his
So
name.
that's why I think he made the video saying, "Okay, look at the amount of money the show has made in its history, and look at what you have paid me over the years because of it."
Yeah, sorry, tough shit.
And then he dropped in the word about slavery, and everybody shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no,
Shut up,
but see, that's the problem, right? You start doing that stuff, right? Like again, in the NBA, Kyrie Irving does the same kind of thing, right? That, we should not be drafted because it's slavery, and a black guy talking about slavery means you can't have any discussion. Discussions are shut down at that point.
No slave gets $45 million a season, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. I'll be a slave tomorrow. You pay me $100 million. I'm slave. I'll put it all over my.
It's such hyperbole, right? I mean, like in that sense, and again, these are contracts issued, right? If you're saying that a contract has no validity, then nothing has validity, right? I mean, like everything functions under contracts.
Adam has touched on a very interesting point here.
It's just weird. Yeah, the idea is that somebody else owns the intellectual property to your name.
Mhm.
Isn't that weird? That's pretty.
Well,
you signed the
but then
contract.
you shouldn't sign the contract, right? I mean, like call it something else. It's something that we come up with fairly often in the podcasting space, much smaller, right? But it's an issue we come up with quite often, that do we want to name a show behind somebody's name? If that show is singularly attached to that person and it's nobody else, yeah, sure. But otherwise, we don't want to do it ourselves either, right? Because again, you can't do anything with it if that person is no longer with you. So, I mean, like, it's just that the entire conversation around this stuff, we've come to a position now, which was like, I mean, like, where it's like corporations are evil. They never do anything but evil, and let's try and screw them wherever we can.
I'd say I'd pay $100 if you can write a 250 100-word essay on this and prove to me that there's an afterlife after the contract.
I think Dave Chappelle has made enough money. He's just got so much equity. Why does he have to even worry? He can let the TV company or channel, whatever, make a little money on that and just move on. Because right now he's probably the highest paid comic in the world. Back in the Gulf, they'll fly him down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Comes in a super helicopter at somebody's private wedding, $5 million, makes 3 gags, off he goes.
He just tested positive for COVID, by the way, Dave Chappelle.
Still rich. He's still super rich. COVID doesn't matter.
That is for sure.
Unless the ultimate sentence happens. God forbid.
Yeah.
So he has almost no social media presence, and every time he puts out a show, it goes in like minutes. So he has literally
he's got that statesman-like comedian status now.
Yeah.
Where he, you listen to him pontificate and the funnies. It's like, now is the philosopher as well as the comedian together, really, 50-50. Maybe sometimes 60-40, and then I'm like, okay, where's the joke? Yeah. But I like what you brought up, Adam, quickly. I know we run out of time and lots to talk about. You think we abuse this, the Me Too thing, for example? Nobody thinks about how it can be abused. The black card, or in our case, communal cards in India, caste cards in India, sometimes it's just abused. And you can't even look at that because it's the holy cow. You dare think from the other end of the spectrum. And I think that happens a lot with the Me Too thing for sure. I'm guaranteeing you.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a place where people can exploit, people will exploit. I mean, that's always going to be the case. That's human nature. So, but at the same time, I understand the importance of these causes. It's just that all of a sudden catches in the news or something that brings something to attention, and it's like a bubble that pops, and when that bubble pops, all of a sudden everything comes spilling out. So there are certain times when these things happen. I mean, look, the whole Me Too movement got kicked off by what's his name, the movie director Weinstein,
yeah.
right? And it's just that it gets to the point when people can get away with it so blatantly, so badly, and nobody does anything, and then the bubble grows to the point you just go boop, and then everybody that's enjoyed that time in the bubble all fall out, So I agree, but it goes too far, then you get in a place like we do an improv game in Seattle where it's called the accents game, right? So you get a bunch of accents and then you try to act out a scene and they yell out different accents and you have to try to talk in that accent. And back in the day, I loved that game, but now it's no longer, it's not
Politically
PC.
incorrect.
Yeah, politically incorrect. You're offending people, can't be done. So now it's the celebrity game where it's better to, if you make fun of celebrities, it's okay. But if you make fun of accents,
Ethnic grounds.
So,
yeah.
Wow. So
How sad if you can't make fun of ethnicity. I mean, that's so wrong. How can we not make fun of ethnicity? Why is what's going to happen?
Well, I think you can make fun of your own ethnicity all the time.
Yeah, but how much can you do on your own ethnicity? And after some time, you're exhausted. There's the same 10 gags and references. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And the whole fun in a country like India, I think America's the same. It's an immigrant sort of society. At the end of the day, you can see that. So I think the fun is enjoying the differences. And, there's a point where obviously it's just brutal. But I love it. I think,
and I personally think, I think there is this fun of having fun and having laughter about each other's differences when it's a kind of situation where the comedy is like everybody's at the table to laugh together about it, versus it's a bunch of one group of people making fun of another group of people. You know what I mean? That's where people get their feelings hurt. But if it's like a whole bunch of people from all kinds of different places and they're all making fun of each other, then it's, I don't know, somehow people don't find that as bad. I don't know.
It's weird though, but how do you how do you create that magic mixture of representation across all this to kind of ensure that, I understand that, it is always problematic when communities or people or whatever you want to call it, people in power are basically using that power in a way to denigrate or to dismiss people who are not. I understand the power imbalance exists, right? But there is a flip side to it, right? Cyrus always talks about that, right? I mean, like,
if I interrupt you for a second and you carry on just for a second, even with the female comedians, when we brought them on and took a contrarian view, just for the sake of being a prick, I mean, the way the room got heated up, and I'm sure Sylvie has and Adam has examples of that. It's like, oh God, now this banter is out of the question. We can't even go there. There's too many sacred cows. And that my fear is then there's no point. You can't have free speech from any angle because too many lobbies are upset about too many things. There's too much fragility. Sorry, no, go back to you. Sorry about that.
No, but that's exactly it, right? It is the fragility, and it's also, but what Adam says as well, right? And I mean, like, these two things do compete in somewhere, right? Where you, the idea that you should be able to, how do you create broad enough representation from the creator side so that you can then start doing stuff from the content side? And that is part of the problem, right? That, I mean, like, most content being created that is little edgy and little touchy and little or is kind of like, talking about whether it's, making jokes which are somewhat misogynistic, and not necessarily misogynistic in a hate women way, but like, men, female difference jokes, kind of that kind of stuff, right? Things which are touching on race, things which are touching on ethnicity. Do you basically get enough representation to now shield yourself so that you can make that kind of commentary? Or it's a hard question to answer.
And personally, I think it's a lot of times, it's playing at the top of your intelligence. And a lot of times people use certain, things as a crutch, right? Oh, if we make fun of different ethnicities, oh, you're Gujarati, oh, you're cheap, right? It's like, okay, well, that's not exactly,
but it's still to pay me. What were you saying, Adam?
Paying you in kakra. Here you go. Dokla and kakra. They're all day.
Well, he knows it. He's got all nailed in. Yeah. But that is terrible. The stereotypes are so irritating because, this is absolutely stupid after a point. Except for the point that Gujaratis are business community, generally the ones we are next to. There's nothing really so stereotypical. They're all types, and I grew up with them. But that's for the world. Everybody, I mean,
Yeah.
look at the Jewish jokes that are available. But my point is, I wish they would allow it. That's all. I just wish we could make.
But, see, there is again, there is a point at I don't think it's not allowed. You take shit for doing it, right? Now, the amount of shit that you take for doing it, I think, has gone out of control. Right? You should take shit for doing it, right?
And the banning thing where people will ban
He's in
you.
jail. The kid's in jail.
Yeah.
He's not a terrorist or arsonist or rapist or murderer. Let's keep reminding people. He's just a guy making 3 jokes on a stage.
Yeah.
Surely that doesn't warrant jail. Just don't give him a job.
No,
If you
but-
think it's against your sensibility, just
Yeah.
no,
Today's
see
his
that-
hearing, by the way.
Yeah.
Today's his-
that's
hearing.
comedy. Now that's funny. Yeah. After 1 month, comedian gets hearing. Yeah, ridiculous.
His hearing was actually supposed to be on the 15th, but the police did not apparently submit a
File the-
case study
yeah.
or case file.
That's a normal stalling practice. You just have to not have your paperwork in, so they have to take another date. Yeah.
So-
Sorry, Adam, you were saying?
Well, I just this thing in India. There's this this right to be offended, right? Like if you say something that you can, I don't think in the U.S. you can file a case because you've offended me. Like because we do have this freedom of speech. You can't just be like, I'm offended by what you're saying, therefore you're offending my rights. Therefore I can put a case on. I mean, I guess you can put a case on anybody for any reason, right? If you have enough money and a lawyer, but you can always file a lawsuit.
But you had a similar sort of situation now. Amit will jump down my throat with that lady in New York, in the park with the dog and the African American gentleman, and then she called the police.
But he caught her on the phone. Yeah, he filmed her though, and so he showed her how she was acting, and everybody saw it. You saw how the lady was acting. You saw what he did. So and normally what happens in those kinds of scenarios, the cops come over the black guy. If it's a black male, he's just going to immediately get in trouble. They're going to immediately give him a hard time, treat him completely different than.
If I was to be her lawyer, I'd say it was a description. Like she would say, call me a fat, ugly man, or Silvery, a young kid with glasses, or Amit, a bald man, or you're really not that distinct anymore. I can't make out what to call you. But you know what I'm saying is, so is that necessarily racism? I know we know it is because of the way she was looking and all that, but that's,
Yeah.
I'm just uncomfortable with the hanging that happened so quickly because it all goes the other way around now.
Well, it comes from a long history that we've all been part of, and that's the thing is, and we were trying to laugh and heal through that history. I mean, that's one way.
Yeah, but she's paying for that, for some really atrocities which are.
She got herself on camera acting like an idiot. If someone puts a camera on you and you act like an idiot, you deserve to get in trouble.
Yeah, same thing with the one that really kind of got me was the woman who basically complained about the young girl selling water in San Francisco. That one was insane, right? Same kind of thing as the park and
race related.
It was a race thing, right? So so she said it wasn't a race thing, obviously, but it was a race thing. It was this young 7 or 8-year-old girl selling water in San Francisco during the lockout, and then she complained to the cops saying that she's violating social distancing.
On the face of it, where's the race? It's just a kid, whatever color. There's a kid selling, and she's upset with that.
Well,
where's the race issue?
Well, the race issue comes in the way that the whole thing was done. I mean, you'll have to watch the entire video. It was clearly there was a race issue there.
There's a more recent one that happened at a mobile store. This woman basically misplaced her mobile phone, and there was a kid walking by, like a 14-year-old African American black kid was walking by, and so she started accusing him. He was walking with his parent, and she started accusing him, "Hey, give me my phone back! Give me my phone back!" She went and started pushing him, and made a whole scene. And then turns out her phone was just kept on the side there. So then she went on an interview with Gayle King of Gayle King, right? The
Oprah.
Oprah's friend, yeah. She went on an interview with Gayle King. The entire interview, this woman is just very, has this air of oh, I'm just a 22-year-old kid. What do I know? I just did this. I felt bad. Okay, fine. But then I understand that everything I own is in that phone. So I thought it was robbed by that kid. And she just didn't see the fault in what she had done.
I believe the color, you know that the prejudice is deep and was already there. But if that's the only person that passed, okay, I'm just to play her devil's advocate. That's the only person that passed. That's the suspect, right? At that time.
Okay, fair. But then the way she acted out was she went just full on aggressive and started hitting the
just that it's been very uneven, right? What 80% of the prisons have African American as against the rest.
So it's a racism problem, right? Same thing over here. Caste stuff is problem, right? I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing in terms of how these things are dealt with, right? That if you're a lower caste person in India, I mean, life sucks, right? I mean, just the same way.
It just sucks. Your life is in danger. If you're a black person, the cop could kill you, and a lot of people die because of them. It's very common, and it's happened for a long time.
Yeah, I do agree with
safety of life. If you're on that side, damn well it is important to you.
Yeah.
So
You
if
want-
you're black and lower caste, okay, look. Sorry, I'll pull that back. That's Adam, that's not funny. Draw the line somewhere.
No, but you know,
Don't throw me on the bus with these, Cyrus.
there
Take that one yourself.
were a number of people who asked the question, right? If the Capitol protesters were black, what would have happened? What would that look like, right?
We were
And it really is a question which, I mean, like, you're like, yeah, no, this is not what it will look like. These people would never have gotten into the Capitol at all. People would have been shooting at them while they were trying to get up the stairs.
So basically, the world just sucks. There's no point.
There are
I mean, so the vigilance is only for colored people, is it? Oh, that's fine.
We're getting better. We're getting better.
There are now cops coming out in support of what happened. Like some of them, like non-officially, but they're coming out in support of what happened at Capitol. For instance, I read one article of this cop claiming, I went inside and I used Nancy Pelosi's washroom for the first time. That was pretty cool. So like that
They
was
sound like tourists. But that's what we do in the old
They
days.
smeared feces all over the place. We had 2 of our police officers took time off to fly to the Capitol and then be part of it. On their free time, they both got fired the next day.
But they
It
didn't
was
think
like-
that they were breaking the law, entering the Capitol while they solemn
I don't think
ceremonies
they were
going
thinking
on.
anything, Cyrus. I think they were just.
No, come on.
Yeah,
They've
right,
got jobs. They have some idea of the law. They're working for the law.
Yeah, but they actually thought that they were going to overthrow the government, I think.
And
at that
stall the
moment.
proceedings. And
Trump was like, I will be down there with you. I will be marching. We'll go down there and we'll
he just-
take the Capitol. And what did he do? He just went back inside.
Yeah.
And they all just stormed over there.
he said, your philosophy is right, but don't kill anyone. Just slap once or twice and get out fast. Yeah.
Shall we go to Amos?
Yes, we should. We should.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great, awesome, amazing week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank the sponsor on the network this week, Storytel and the Whole Truth Foods. We have a new show out this week, Candid Kanan with Siddharth Kanan. Sid Gay is a well-known RJ. He has an incredible show with some of the most amazing Bollywood celebrities. As part of the first week's episode, we're releasing 5 episodes at one time, so you can get your fill of Sid. You can hear him talk to Varun Dhawan, Anil Kapoor, Anurag Kashyap, Bhumi Pednekar, and a whole lot more. This week on the Edges and Sledges podcast with Varun DJ and Ashwin, hear them talk about the historic victory that India achieved at Gaba. Maruk Inayat had an amazing talk with Gul Panag. They spoke about the farmer protests and why Bollywood celebs are acting the way that they are. And finally, Shunya 1 is back this week. Shiladitya and me talked to Anirudh Singla from Pepper Content. We have a great lineup of guests coming up in the coming weeks, including Deepak Abbott, the co-founder of India Gold. Definitely check that out. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
Okay. The first question comes in from Karan M. He says, "Hi guys. Do you guys think the social divide in the USA is so deep that it is nearly impossible for it to heal?" A listener from Minneapolis here. Thanks.
Okay, Adam, I'm going to ask you a question related from the thing. Stupid cliche, but do you have black friends?
Yes.
Relations with black people, just like you have with white people,
Yeah,
good friendships?
like I've been taking Kung Fu for a very long time, and my Kung Fu teacher is a black guy.
Okay.
So he's a good
But
friend.
it goes
and then
beyond the
other-
school? Your friends, you hang out?
Yeah, I have many friends, a bunch of friends. I mean, musicians and improvisers, comedians, all kinds of
I
people.
thought he was going to say after Indian, anything's a step up. So Latin, Mexicans, all,
Yeah,
Asians.
We've got a lot. See, that's the great thing about our city is it's very diverse. So we have a lot of people from all different kinds of groups. And then, in the fact, the high school I went to is like literally, you had somebody from every country in that school. So you met with a lot of different groups and communities. Of
I mean, you
people.
came to South Asian culture, so you walk the walk. But let's answer the question now. I think you should answer this. Honestly, how can we answer it? He can. He's been a citizen of America as well. The two of you. Is the social divide unbridgeable?
I think it will eventually heal with time, but I think, my honest opinion is I think what has happened to us is what we've done to other people, and we're kind of getting our just desserts now, because it's been known for a long time that the CIA and all these kind of people will go to, throw in these kind of things where they stoke up the drama in other countries to cause overthrow or people to have riots.
Bad karma is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think now it's come back to bite us in the ass, and that's what's kind of happened at this point.
I would say the social divide is not so much black-white in the U.S. as much as urban-rural. I really think that's the deeper one, and that's the one that I don't know that changes that much. I don't think that changes in India either, right? I think the idea of metro versus non-metro over here in India is similar to the idea of what you have in the U.S., where you look at, East Coast, West Coast versus most of the rest of the part of the country, right? And I think that has to do with that's just that's going to be hard to fix. Right. I think that for that for people to start, you definitely need less divisive. Joe Biden actually might be the best possible president for the U.S. in this circumstance, because he's always been the most compromising when it comes to working across the aisles, working with Republicans and Democrats. In India, we don't have anybody like that who could potentially work with oppositions, because in India, the thing in the U.S. is at least there's a patina of that our political parties stand for something. We are trying to we have philosophical differences. In India, it doesn't matter. There's no philosophy, right? What is the philosophy of the Congress versus what is the philosophy of the BJP? BJP is anti. It's the same thing.
One is pro renaming. One is we won't rename till we're the government.
Exactly. That's pretty much it, right? The policy prescriptions in India is I'm in opposition to what the other person says. That's the policy prescription, right? There's no underlying theory or there's no underlying philosophy that the Congress has or the BJP has, other than that if the Congress is for it, the BJP is against it, the BJP is for it, the Congress is against it.
But coming back to the US, is it possible that you take Trump out of the mix and then the crossover becomes a lot easier with the more flexible guys on both sides?
There are the wannabe Trumps.
I want Obama to come back.
The most interesting idea that I read, which is not happening obviously, but was maybe ex-presidents can't stand for president again, but they could be part of the cabinet. So why not make Obama attorney general? Which I thought was one of the most interesting ideas.
Will undermine the guy on top, right? Because Biden was his junior for so long, etc., etc.
But Biden was also a senior for so long, right?
Yeah, and it's just the thing is this two-party system, so you really have to vote. I don't feel like I get to vote for who I want. I have to vote against who I don't want.
Do you even really get to vote in Washington? I don't get to vote in Delaware. I get to, but I don't, right?
Yeah, it's because of the Electoral College. So if your state swings one way always, it will always be that. So my state always goes liberal, so we'll always vote for the Democrat. Right.
Let's look at the almanac, which tells me clearly that Donald Sutherland's son, whose name I forget, in that show, whose name I forget.
Kiefer. Yeah. Kiefer from 24.
No, the one where the president has to change because everybody gets killed in a bomb blast.
24. Oh, no, the other one, Designated Survivor.
Designated Survivor. Well, he takes in the ex-president as an advisor, who then, of course, comes back to haunt him. So I'm just saying, maybe not a good idea to take the ex-alpha into your cabinet, because I don't know how that works out.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But maybe,
It's like Silvery would never let me around his chiquitas. Is that okay to say, or do I apologize?
Pull that back in. Pull
it back in. Next to his lady friends. I sound like my father. We dog people. Everything is male, female. It's so embarrassing.
Let's get to one more AMA.
Yeah.
This one is an improv related one. Comes in from Vivek Barthwal. He says, which setup in improv is the most overused? And if you had to come up with one right now, what would it be? Sorry to put you on the spot.
What is the setup? What is the setup? Date gone wrong. I always think that's a big one. I don't know. There's some date and it's awkward usually.
May I suggest also localized improv sometimes? Like for us, what would really turn me on if I'm watching is if you show me a cop interacting with me at a signal, which he says I've broken. Those kind of things. It's just so much fun.
The setup is kind of just the story, or we call crow. So the characters, the relationship, the objectives, the characters, and then kind of where they are, the physical humor of the whole thing. Kind of, you have those encapsulate together. That's where the magic kind of happens, So, you hear a lot of...
Adam, just one quick word on the process, since you're the master here. Do you think people put too much pressure when they're doing improv because they're looking for beginning, middle, end? I think sometimes that there's too much pressure in the mind, while instead if they relax, some of the more creative ones will just give you moments which are fun. And then it organically takes its own shape. I've always thought that sometimes I can see the guys looking ahead and not staying in the moment sometimes. Is that like a problem?
Yeah, it is a problem. I think it's a lot. I mean, it's the same thing as like playing sports, right? If you're really good at it, you don't think about, oh, I moved this and I do that to do this, right? You just do it, and you're there in the moment.
You stay on point. And then go to the next one. Yeah.
There's no real rules in improv other than you just have to build on the other people's ideas. Everything else is just kind of a tool, to use.
But having said that, Adam, when it goes right, it's the best thing in the world. You can't beat it with a rehearsed performance. It's just absolutely, the room just livens up. When they take to you and you're on your zone. And I must say, I've seen a couple and where it's just the best thing. Everybody's having a color time.
And the same thing is like when you're doing actual theatrical performances or even films, like when you're acting in film, sometimes the first take is the best one, right?
Yeah.
And a lot more best take. And then you do 3-4 other ones and they're all like, oh, okay. But it's really that first one that has the magic.
No, I'm fighting dialogues all the time, telling them just let us talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes the dialogue, you just can't say it that way. It just doesn't make any sense. I also believe improv, if you're nude, will be a huge hit. Nude improv.
I think Naked Night. I think there have been people that have done Naked Night improv.
Yeah. And the audience is naked as well. Or they can just giggle at you.
They get in for free. They get in for free if you come naked.
That's a small joke.
There's one more very interesting AMA about improv, if I can just... comedy... Mohammad Aqib asked this. He says, if comedy where there is a written set is so dangerous for the artist, doesn't that make improv a little scary to pursue?
That's true. You can't take that back. You can't do this in improv.
Yeah. Well, at least you can make it. I made it up on the spot. I swear. I didn't know it.
Has it ever happened? Politically incorrect moment, racist, casteist, communist.
Yeah. There's I think a lot of stuff have happened. In fact, we had this whole outing in our improv community just, I think like 4 or 5 months back or so. Vancouver, up there, their theater company up there, a very big one, Vancouver Theater Sports, had a bunch of Black performers that said they didn't feel like they were welcome and they thought it was not a good experience that they had there, and that there was a lot of off-color jokes that were made, and so they had to do a whole reconstruction. A bunch of people got let go, and they had to do a bunch of stuff differently. So it is it's a very hot button topic these days. So people, they want to do what's right, but sometimes everybody has the right to be offended,
The performer being offended is a bit sad. I think you'll have to have a little thicker skin, at least in our country. Yeah. Actually, it's the same everywhere. I guess it's just degrees that change.
Yeah, so that's that's the hard thing about this, right? I mean, like, because it's a spectrum of stuff that goes on, right? That some of it is fairly benign and some of it's not at all benign, right? And how do you kind of how do you make these distinctions? Where do you draw lines? This, I guess, is the complexity of this shit, right?
Yeah, I'll just segue back to something else, because just to prove that he's American in America, nobody in the background. But here in India, 40 people to a room. My daughter's walked by twice now. Your guys walked by twice now. Silvery's all that's happening. And we have the privilege. It's not like we're the privilege. It's not like, but back in Seattle, he's got to find a person on the street now.
Yeah. I'd be lucky. I'd run out. I'd be running for blocks trying to find somebody.
All right. I think that wraps it up. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to finally get to see you guys again.
It's been a while.
We'll get to meet in person again someday.
The vaccines have started in both countries in the globe, actually. So let's hope. I don't know. I suppose it's also false hope sometimes, because there's no foolproof solution. But I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. And if I could cross anything else, I would. But at my age,
Yeah. Hopefully 2021 is the year to get better,
Yeah. So 2020, no coitus. Dare touch each other. So 21 oral and 22 we'll see. 69 maybe. Because mouth to mouth is terrible, but mouth to... Okay, listen, leave it there. Let's just go on with our life.
Yes.
Adam, have a good one. Have a good evening.
Full body condom.
This country needs that.
Okay. I'll see you guys. Thank you.
Guys. Bye. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे।
Only on the Nankali podcast every Wednesday, सिर्फ IVM Podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो।
Feeling overwhelmed, anxious, struggling with too many obstacles, don't know where your life is headed? Well, if you are dealing with one or all of these, tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast, because in each episode, I share a life lesson, a life hack, a pro tip that can help you get your life back on track. All episodes are available on the IBM website, IBM Podcast app, or wherever it is that you get your podcast from.